Hey dudes, I hope you're having a great Monday. I'm having a little bit of connection problems this morning, so I've tried recording this video a few times, so if you've seen this introduction a couple times, I do apologize. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you have a chance to get outside and enjoy this beautiful Monday morning. It is like, I don't know, probably about 18 degrees right now. It started off being about 12, but the sun is gorgeous. The wind is a little chilly, but again, get outside and enjoy a few minutes of sunshine because it makes all the difference. Like for your mood, for your happiness, for your patience. Just soak in that vitamin D for a couple of minutes and just, feel a bit happier. So anyways, this morning I wanted to hop on and just talk a little bit about flexibility and about front splits. I've had a lot of my students, sorry, I had a reconnection problem for quite a minute and I was just waiting for it. I've had a lot of my students lately ask me for tips on, a lot of my clients ask me for tips on just how to achieve more flexibility and how to achieve front splits specifically. If you're a dancer or a pole dancer, front splits are something that you kind of want because it's something that kind of makes everything else a little bit easier, because flexibility is just kind of something you need in dance. Maybe you don't need, but it's something that's helpful. And so I've had a lot of people ask me lately, how did you do it when you first did it? Because obviously I didn't grow up with the most fitnessy of backgrounds. I didn't grow up with a gymnast background. I definitely did not have my splits growing up. And when I started my fitness journey, I definitely did not have my splits. I could not even touch my toes. So if you're one of those people, you're like, well, I can't do yoga, I can't stretch because I can't touch my toes. It does not matter. It actually matters that you start now, because the point isn't that you can touch your toes. The point is that you just start. And no matter where you start, that's where you start in the journey. And we all started somewhere, and it's just a matter of progressing and getting better. And the goal isn't necessarily to touch your toes. The goal is only to feel better. So if you feel better stretching a little bit, no matter whether you touch your toes or not, then who gives a shit if you can touch your toes? Like, that's not the point. And the splits are not the point either. But I wanted to post this video, on just to discuss how to improve your flexibility and how to progress your flexibility, because I know a lot of people, oh my god, there's bees flying around everywhere. I know a lot of people are wondering, how can I do it? How is it done? 1 second. There are bees in my backyard and they're trying to attack my shake, so they're all around me. Anyways, so I had 2 tips this morning to share with you guys, and then I just wanted to discuss my 5 top stretches to help with your flexibility in regards to your legs or your splits. And I'm not going to demonstrate them today because I'm having connection issues with my phone, and I do not want to have to come in, stop it, and restart. So I might not record how to do the videos or how to do those specific moves today, but I'm going to discuss what they are. But before I get to those moves, my 2 top tips to progress in your flexibility, in your front splits, and in life in general, to be perfectly honest. The first tip is consistency. Show up every single day. And the second tip is active flexibility. So maybe that's not to progress in anything, but I'm going to talk a little bit more of those in depth right now. So what I mean by consistency, showing up every single day, what does that mean for everyone? Obviously it's different for everyone because everyone's lifestyles are different. What you have for quote-unquote free time to put into stretching, into your active flexibility, into your stretching routine obviously differs per person. For me, at the time that I was working through my knee injury and I couldn't work out necessarily, but all I could do was stretch, I had roughly, I don't know, an hour or 2 a day of free time where I would just sit around and stretch. I would watch TV, sit around and stretch. And that's what I mean by consistency. I showed up every single day no matter what, and maybe it was because I had no other choice, I had no other option. I had injured my knee. I could not work out, so I had to stretch. So by nature, I was like, well, whatever, this is what I'm going to do. So maybe it was a factor of I had no other choice, because now that I can work out, my stretching always takes the back seat, or is on the back burner, you know what I mean? But having that time, or taking that time consistently every single day to progress anything, including your flexibility, is how you get better. So for me, back then, I was doing roughly an hour or 2 a day of flexibility, and that was full body flexibility, but I spent at least an hour on legs, and maybe that was, 10 minutes doing 2 poses left to right, and then 10 minutes doing another pose left to right. But it was lengthy. It wasn't like I showed up 5 minutes a day and then at the end of the week I was growing in flexibility. I was showing up consistently and I was putting in the effort. So it was about an hour a day, let's say 10-15 minutes per leg, so that's half an hour already, and then the other half an hour was on other parts of the body, because your leg flexibility is not just related to your legs, it's related to your back, it's related to the rest of your body as well. So if your upper body and your back are tight, it doesn't matter how much you stretch your legs, something will be missing. So it's always important to think about stretching full body, right? So showing up consistently every single day, I would say at least 10 to 15 minutes a leg per day to achieve or to improve your flexibility in your splits or in your leg bendiness, let's call it, okay? My second tip to progress your flexibility is to do active flexibility. So rather than just go into, for example, a forward fold or a lunge or a middle opener or something like that, rather than just go there and hold it without activating your muscles, you go there, you get into the position, and then you activate your muscles in the position. So for example, if I were in a lunge, I'll demonstrate. So if I were in a lunge here, oh, that's hurting a little bit. So if I'm in a lunge here, you can see part of my body. Rather than just hanging out in this position and letting gravity pull me down, because yes, that will work, but it will take longer. Rather than just waiting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine scissoring my legs together this way, so it activates this muscle and activates this muscle, and it forces me to get into the position deeper. So I get into the position as deep as I can, I square off my chest, and then I activate my legs. So I squeeze the back knee forward, and I squeeze the front leg back, and I hold, for an example, 10 seconds. So I hold and I squeeze for 10 seconds, and yes, it's uncomfortable. And then I relax the muscles, and I just relax into the stretch for double the amount of time that I held it. So that activity of forcing your muscles to activate, forcing them to warm up, and then relaxing into them for double the amount of time that you did it is what will help you get exponentially further in your stretches. And this is one of the things that I did and I continue to do every single day to keep my stretches, or to keep my splits where they are, and to also maintain my splits when they go backwards. So those are my top two tips, is active flexibility and consistency and effort. Okay, I know I only wrote consistency in the caption, but effort is a huge tip as well. But lastly, I want to talk about my 5 top stretches for your front splits. So my five favorite stretches, should I say. Perhaps there are other ones, I'm sure there are other great ones that you can do, but these are my 5 favorite ones. So my first favorite stretch to do for splits flexibility is a lunge. So that move I just did. Simply stepping forward with one foot, keeping the knee above the ankle, and I'm lunging forward. We've all seen a lunge. Back knee is behind the back hip. That's my first favorite move. I hold it here, I'll twist into moves, I'll twist the other way, but these are one of those moves that I'll come in and I'll just watch the TV for 10 minutes here, and then I'll move into my second favorite move for stretching my hips, or stretching my splits, should I say, and that's the hamstring stretch. So let's make sure my whole body's in the pose here. So if you see, my back is nice and flat. So I want to avoid having a rounded back here or looking like a hunchback. I want to walk up my leg, or use blocks if I have them, to flatten out my back and lengthen my spine, lifting my chest. I'm trying to straighten out the front leg, and I'm trying to flex the front foot. So this will stretch out the back of my hamstring and the entirety of my back leg, or the back of my front leg, whereas this stretch here will stretch out the front of my hip. So these are the 2 muscles essentially that you have to stretch when you're doing your splits most often, because these are the muscles you're doing when you're going into your front splits. So here, my active flexibility would be squeezing the legs together for 10 seconds and then releasing. Here, my active flexibility would be actively squeezing my quad and flexing my foot, driving my knee to the floor, and then releasing for 20 seconds. So I would squeeze for 10 and release for 20. Those are my top 2, or my first 2 top stretches. From there, another favorite stretch that I love to do is your pigeon stretch. So pigeon has the front leg, and I hope you can see me here. Pigeon has the front leg. I'll come down here for a second. Front leg is bent, and you're on the outside of the thigh. So my foot here is kind of in my groin, and I want to bend my knee and flex my foot. When I flex my foot, I protect my kneecap from any injury when I'm in this position. My back leg is extended behind me. I'm stretching out my front hip when I do this, so whatever knee is in front, that stretches out my hip. And then whenever you're kind of warm into the stretch, you can think of lifting your back foot, and that will also stretch out your back quad. I'm trying to remember my words now. So front hip, back quad. So this is my 3rd favorite stretch. In this position, I don't often go into active flexibility because it's intense enough, but if you wanted to, for the back foot to make it active flexibility, you would squeeze your butt cheek and think of thrusting your foot back into your hand. So I'm actively pushing my hand back. So that would be the activation there. For the front leg, I wouldn't say so much you need to activate anything. You can squeeze and release your butt cheek. That will help get deeper. Or you can sink down to your elbows, and that will help deepen your stretch as well. Okay, that's my 3rd favorite stretch. My 4th favorite stretch is your pretzel stretch. So with your legs, essentially you're trying to get your heels as far back behind. So say I have one leg underneath, my opposite leg comes on top, my knees are stacked one on top of the other, directly in front of my body. And again, I'm trying to get my feet out to the side of me. If your feet are kind of crooked, that's okay. It just means your hips are tight and you have to work on this stretch. This is also a great stretch if you sit at a desk all day long, or if you walk for a long time, or if you have a lot of tension in your hips and your back and your legs. Okay, so this is your pretzel stretch. You can stay here, you can hang on to your feet if you feel like they're trying to push themselves forward, or if you feel like they're trying to come back. So essentially what you're trying to do is bring your feet in line with your knees. So your feet are going to be very far back to begin with, but what you want to do is kind of inch your feet forward a little bit so they're a bit more forward. You should feel this in both of your hip flexors, or at least one of them. Okay, and obviously you want to do all these stretches on both sides. For this stretch here, I would not suggest doing anything active. Just hang out in the stretch, feel the relaxing in the hips. And for all of these stretches, you want to hold them until you're uncomfortable and then count to like 30. You always want to go beyond your comfort zone in order to grow past what you can do, right? So I would hold this position and then I would do the other side. So that's my second last stretch. My final stretch is your reclined hamstring stretch. Okay, and for this stretch, obviously it's not something that you would want to do outside too much if there's a lot of stuff on the floor like there is in the backyard, but this is a great stretch, 1, to help you sleep, 2, to help relax you, 3, to help stretch out your hamstring, and to help relax your low back and stretch out your low back. Okay, so from here, your reclined hamstring stretch, you're on the floor, and you're going to either grab a strap, wrap it around the foot, around the ball of the foot, or you can grab the foot if you can. Otherwise, you're grabbing behind the shin, avoid behind the knee and behind the quad, because otherwise you're just going to bend your knee, and that's defeating the purpose. So from here, we want to keep the entirety of your back on the floor, and you want to roll your shoulders down and back as you try and pull your foot towards your face. Obviously, your goal is to keep the back of this leg straight as you drive the knee to the sky. From here, I'm just going to hold this position, and if I have a strap to help pull me, I can help pull on that strap and force my foot to flex. So this is, again, the reclined hamstring stretch. If this is enough for you, you can stay here. You can also deepen the stretch by pulling the foot across the body, opening up the arms nice and wide to stabilize you, and just looking over the opposite shoulder. So this will stretch out the side of the bum and also really help with opening up the legs for your splits. Okay? Ooh, sorry about that. Something in my eye. So like I said, not all of these stretches are specifically front stretches or back stretches for your splits. However, they will help open up the muscles around your legs, the muscles around your hips and around your bum in order for you to do your splits. And then eventually you will come into those front splits. Now I had a student ask me the other day, how long did it take you to get into your splits? I want to say it was about 6 months. Okay, and I was like this far off the floor to like on the floor. Okay, it took me about 6 months. I was doing about an hour to maybe 2 hours a day. And I was doing just variations of those stretches that I just showed you consistently every single day, once to twice a day, an hour at least, okay? And it was just doing those stretches. And if you think about it, like that's 5 stretches in an hour, so it's 60 minutes divided by 5, that's, I'm having a brain fart on the math, but you know what I mean? Like that's over 10 minutes per stretch. So if you think about it, you still have to do left and right, so you only have 5 minutes per stretch on each side. If that's how you want to break it down. So that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Anyways, that's kind of all I really wanted to say today, was to just share those tips with you guys. Remember that in order to progress in anything, you have to be consistent, you have to show effort, and you have to be active about it. Okay, and again, thank you for hopping in and enjoying my top tips and my little secrets to front splits. I hope it helps you guys, and I'll record a more professional video of those stretches with some explanations, and I'll kind of create a little sequence, a little routine, and then I'll post it to YouTube, and then I'll post it here for you guys so you have something to kind of gauge. That being said, thank you for hopping on. Have a great Monday afternoon. It's about lunchtime almost, so I hope you have a great lunch and a great day. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.